one day, when I was 21 years old, I was living in an apartment in Manhattan, my own little studio apartment. I was working in an advertising agency, climbing up the ladder. I had several friends I hung out with. Life was very normal. I really had no problems. I had enough money to cover my bills, and I had things to do. And I was living in the middle of Manhattan with a very, very nice address. One day, I can't say why, what caused it, but I woke up and my entire vision of life, of everything, just changed in a minute. It was as though I looked out the window and I saw the world, which I wasn't paying all that much attention to. I was caught up in my own life, having a normally good time. But I saw the level of darkness, of just distress all across the globe as a result of man's selfishness. And I saw it in myself, which was probably the greatest blessing of all of it. And in the midst of this revelation that lasted no more than minutes, by the time it was over, the entire focus and direction of my life had changed. Instead of looking to gain some kind of position and possessions and accomplishments, security in the natural world, the only thing that concerned me was getting free of the selfishness that was inside of me, that I understood to be the root of the problem of what the world had become. For the next 4 years, I and my wife went on a journey to find God, because we knew that the only deliverance from this depth of selfishness would come from the Creator. Someone we knew was a father, though we didn't know him. During this whole period, I lost my life. Basically, gave it up, lost it. From leaving all my friends, from my apartment, from all my possessions, even from my very identity and how I thought about myself. I mean, there I was, a young Jewish man living a normal life, and I ended up becoming not just a hippie, but if you looked at me, I would have appeared to be someone who was walking around barefoot in the hills of India looking for God. Everything had changed. The point of what I want to share in this moment is not kind of all of my testimony, but with that as a background, something happened when Yeshua came and visited me. I was alone, sleeping in the place I was living. And to my understanding, I couldn't have told you why he showed up, woke me up, revealed himself, completely filled me. I saw that, I just knew it by the Spirit, he was all powerful. There was nothing that he couldn't do. I knew it. And I knew that he knew me absolutely, completely. He knew everything about me, everything I had ever done, everything I had ever thought. Now, the name I had at that point, of course, was Jesus. I didn't know him as Yeshua then. And then on the heels of this power that he had unlimited and the knowledge that he had unlimited, I knew that he accepted me exactly as I was. And in that moment, I completely broke, started weeping and singing, and I could feel a love and a fullness in this empty space that I had been staring at for now 4 years, which was the time of our search. In this sense of moment of being absolutely overwhelmed with his love, I heard now words. He said, I heard, "This is the love that I have for you to dwell in forever. You need to give yourself to me to have it." Well, I fully understood what that meant. That from that moment on, that I would enter into this relationship with him to give me the fullness of everything that I had ever looked for. From that moment on, whatever he said, I would do without any question. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't able to. I said, no, I can't, and he left. Within a couple of months, I had another experience, and I came to the point of accepting his condition and receiving him into my life. The theme that I want to talk about right now is something that is so prevalent in the scriptures. It appears in every one of the Gospels. One of the few sentences and themes that you see all throughout. In Matthew chapter 10, verse 39, he who finds his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my sake will find it. He says exactly the same thing in Matthew chapter 16. In Mark chapter 9, verse 34, he says the same thing again. Whoever desires to save his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my sake and the Gospels will save it. And then in John chapter 6, unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it produces much grain. And he who loves his life will lose it, and he who hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life. There is no real relationship with God outside of this principle. It's not just a matter of doing the right things and obeying him. It's not just a matter of inviting him to live inside of us, but it's a matter of giving ourselves completely to him. Giving him the key to the house and saying, it's not my house anymore. Very much that I can't come and go as I wanted to. It's an exchanged life that I give him, we give him, everything that we have, everything that we are, and he gives us all that he has and all that he is. There's nothing in between. Now, in Luke chapter 14, verse 28, relating to this principle of bearing the cross and giving up your life, he says, "For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it?" when the Lord came to me and woke me up in that one day, I counted the cost. And I didn't have enough inside in order to finish that course. I wasn't ready. Even with all that I had been through for a 4-year period, even coming to the end of my life, in a sense, having nothing, no possessions, no relationships, no identity, when he asked me to give him even the nothing that I had, I wasn't able to do it until I had to process it over the next few months and then come to the place of being ready. Paul makes a statement to the church in Galatia. It's in chapter 2 and verse 20, very familiar. He says, I have been crucified with Christ, with Messiah. It's no longer I who live, but Messiah lives in me, and the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. There's a recognition, a full recognition of the fact that this is not my life. We've talked about Abraham, the father of our faith, and just a remarkable way he walked with the Lord and the things he could see and understand. Never having even met God before and having no testimonies and record from anywhere else. And though we touched this, I want to emphasize it again. In the first interaction that the Lord had with this father of our faith, the first thing that's recorded that he said to him was, get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to a land I will show you. He's essentially saying, leave all of your source of provision, leave all of your relationships, and leave your identity, and come and walk with me. One day I was in a hotel at a conference here in Israel, and one of the workers, it was a Messianic Christian conference, and one of the workers said, so what does it mean to be a Christian? What does it mean to believe? And I said, let me tell you what it means to be a Jew, based upon the testimony of Abraham. And I said, it means to leave all these things. And the guy looked at me and he said, oh, that's too hard. Essentially, this position, perception, acceptance, agreement is the first step in walking with God. It's not a deeper life teaching, but it's the absolute very beginning. And until we make the step of surrendering our lives fully, we're not really walking with God. So, how would you answer the question, who do you belong to? Who do we belong to? Who do you live for? On what basis do we make our decisions? Is it according to how it will affect God or how it will affect us? And though this may seem a little bit extreme, but I really mean it fully. Whose clothes are you wearing? Whose car are you driving? Whose house do you live in? Whose very time is it that I am deciding what to do with? This is the full depth of what it means to have given up our life. Again, it's step number one. It's the foundation What does it feel like to deny ourselves? What does it feel like? You know, we talk about this, and I wonder sometimes it's at the level of concept. But in reality, to be crucified, to deny ourselves, it feels like death. It feels like we're dying. There is no comfort. There is no spiritual hoop-de-doo and hoo-ha beside this. It's just basic, simple. And there is no way. This is what I want to present here in this moment. You might say it's the fine print of the contract. There is no way to walk with God and to be joined together with Him without passing through this. When we give Him the key to the house, we can't go back anymore. The door's closed. We can no longer decide for ourselves. Have we actually given Him the key that it's no longer ours? Only through identifying with His death and resurrection will we experience His glory as well.